Yeah, that is a great song. And guess what's next? We have a wonderful opportunity today with a ministerial student, Erica Satie, who has led many visions for our center as far as finding ourselves a brand new, beautiful home. And so it is my pleasure and my joy and my enthusiasm that invites Erica Satie to the stage for her initial talk here at Center for Spiritual Living Grand Junction. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I didn't know you were so tall.
I'm tall. Yes, thank you. Good morning, everybody. I'm glad I picked that song because, oh my gosh, what is there to be afraid of? Really, I was like, wow, God was speaking through me at that time. And I don't have to explain who I am because Reverend Anna just did that, so thank you. So my first question to all of you today is, have you ever found yourself just swimming upstream where nothing is going right? You feel stuck, you keep trying, and it just doesn't go right. And then you just kind of hit on a wall in some emotional way, maybe an energetic way, and things start to move. And you're suddenly like aligned some way with spirit, the divine, the universe, whatever you want to call it, but things just flow. And so my talk today is all about getting out of God's way, getting into that space of being aligned, and what happens when we just let go and relax, and we just let it all happen. So I'd like to share a story with you. My first story of the day is about how I came to be with wonderful horses. I am a big horse person. I've been riding since I was a wee one, barely old enough to get on a horse, and that was thanks to my mother. My mother loved horses when she was growing up and never got the chance to ride them, and so she was determined that I would get on the horse as soon as I could. And so at 4.5 years old, she put me on a horse, and I started taking riding lessons, and within 3 months, I think I had a pony for Christmas, and she really wanted me to have horses, and I'm so grateful to her for that because it planted this seed of I have such a deep and profound love for them. And so I was, I don't know, a little bit spoiled, but I had, you think? I don't know. But I had horses, and we lived in a beautiful house, and we went riding whenever we wanted, and I grew up in LA, and so we had the Griffith Park and the hills just where to ride. It was beautiful. And I had a beautiful school that I went to, and my mom at the time was a music business executive, and I don't know if any of you know about that lifestyle, but it was kind of a hard one. And so she worked hard, and she played hard, and she couldn't handle it. So after a time, those two parted ways, the music business and my mom, and probably the hard drugs that went with it. And so with that, the horses were gone, the school was gone, everything was, the house was gone. And we were kind of plummeted into a dark time. It was a time where there just didn't seem to be like any kind of hope or joy. And it wasn't just about the horses, there was a whole lot of other things going on. But that went on for several years, and thankfully, down the line, probably 4 or 5 years later, my mom started talking to those horse people again, the people in the horse community. And it really started sparking. I was around 13 years old at the time, and it sparked that light in me that really wanted to be with the horses again. But at the time, I was like, okay, I don't have the money, and my mom certainly doesn't have the money. How in the world am I going to be with these creatures again? And something within me just kept moving forward. And interestingly, at the time, believe this or not, I was an agnostic, and I was really struggling with the idea and the concept of God. And I still had this urge inside me to move forward. And I didn't question, and I didn't try to figure it out, and I didn't be like, okay, no, I'm 13 years old. I can't come up with the money to have a horse. But somehow, Spirit kept bringing me all these opportunities to take care of people's horses. And because I had the knowledge and I had that desire, I started a business taking care of people's horses. Who knew that would happen? I didn't certainly plan that. And by the time I was 19, I had 2 of my own horses. I had all the tack and accoutrement that came with them. I went to Ireland twice on horse treks. And it was amazing, and I didn't get in the way. I did not get in the way of that. And it's such a wonderful it's just such a wonderful experience to look back on and go, wow, even when I didn't even really understand God or even believe in God, I was being led to this wonderful experience. And anytime I think I can't do something, I really can pull that out of my hat and go, hey, you were 13 years old and you figured out a way with Spirit's help to get these creatures in your life. And so I love this quote from Ernest Holmes, our founder. If any of you don't know who he is, he's one of my heroes. He really is. Where he says, God gives some more than others because some accept more than others. And he has a whole set of talks on YouTube from his radio show. They're old and archaic, and he sounds kind of silly. But there's one where he talks about allowing and how the universe is always sending you just this wonderful shower of goodness and love and health and abundance, and it's up to us how much we want to accept of that. And he says you can go to that stream of good, infinite goodness with a thimble and say, okay, I'll take that much, or you can go to the stream with a bucket and you can say, okay, I'll take this much, or you can just let it come at you like a fire hose and just accept the good. That might be a little extreme, let's not go crazy, but like that is what is always in us, as us, living through us, surrounding us. That good is always there. And so I think allowing is just a really, really huge piece in just moving out of the way and saying, okay, God, I let it happen, I let it happen. And so the other story I wanted to share with you today is about how I came to live in Colorado. So I am an LA native. I was born and raised there. I escaped for like 1 year back east and couldn't handle it and came back. And I'd wanted to leave for 10 years and was scared. I just had all these excuses. I can't leave because of this and work and people and da-da-da-da-da, but I kept moving a little bit farther out of town, trying to like get away from it all. And by the end, I was like up against the mountains in Altadena, if any of you are familiar, and there were like bear sightings and deer, and so I was like, okay, I had a little bit of serenity, just a little bit. But little did I know, last year, of course, COVID came along. And with that, in Los Angeles, life became very, very unbearable for me personally. Some people can hang with it. I could not hang with it. And I became rather despondent because everything in my life, in my mind, had been taken away. My church services were gone. My 12-step meetings that I went to face-to-face regularly were gone. The horseback riding trails that I rode on were closed. And my walk around the Rose Bowl that I went on every single day without fail religiously was now gone as well. And so I went into this place of, boy, I really don't want to stick around. Like living-wise, I wasn't going to kill myself, granted. But it was a dark time, and I would get up in the mornings and try to like do spiritual practices, because I was a ministerial student after all. I needed to like walk the talk, you know. So I would have to rev myself up and really try to get into spirits, you know, every morning. But I was talking to one of my spiritual advisors one day, and I was like, gosh, I really can't. I don't really know what to do. And I thought all of the world was like this, how it was in Los Angeles. And she said, you know what, really, no, that's not true. I have family up in the western slope of Colorado. And she started telling me about it, and I started to get a little bit of hope. And I was like, oh, really? Maybe there's someplace else I could go. Maybe there's something else I could do. And I remember waking up a few days later, and I had this internal shift within me, and something said, I am going to thrive in this life whether or not there is a pandemic or anything else happening. That's it, period, end of story. And from that place, which I believe I aligned with the truth within me, capital T, not little t, but capital T, and that's what really moved me forward. And I started to feel hope, and I started to feel excitement, and I started to really look into, what is this western slope of Colorado all about? Maybe I should go up there for a few days and check it out. And so I did. I planned a trip. I drove up, and it took 2 days to drive up leisurely and looked at the sights, and then stayed in Montrose for 10 days and came to Grand Junction and just saw it all, met a bunch of people, went hiking. I fell in love. I was like, this is the place, because I am not your typical LA girl. I am a hiker, I'm a horseback rider, as you know, and I just love clean air. What a concept. Clean, open air and no traffic. I mean, like, oh my gosh. So on my way home, I called one of my prayer partners, and she's like, so how was the trip? And I was like, oh my God, I love it there. I love it there, but I just don't know. I'm 5%. I'm 95% I want to go, and I'm 5% I'm scared. That winter, I'm a California native. I don't know what to do in the snow. Are you kidding me? And I felt that internal pull again say, no, you're not going to put this aside and put it in a little container and push it away because you're scared and because of 5%. 5%. So on that drive home, I took another 2 days to go home because, I just got to see the sights again. But on that drive, I decided I was 100% committed to coming up here. And within 6 weeks, I had packed up my stuff, given my job notice that I was working remotely, take it or leave it. And by October of last year, I was driving up in a U-Haul with one of my wonderful prayer partners, and and here I was, and it has not been all sunshine and roses. There have been some challenges, but within 3 weeks of moving here, actually to Montrose is where I started. Now I'm in Grand Junction. Within 3 weeks of moving to Montrose, I met my now boyfriend, Eric, which many of you met last week. He's wonderful. And the toxic job that I'd been afraid of leaving for years, we parted ways. And the day I got let go of, which was like a shock to me because I've never been let go of anything, was like I was set free. I was like, this is the greatest thing. The thing that I'd been afraid of for so long was like the greatest thing, And so all these wonderful things have happened, and I made a host of wonderful friends. I did break my arm in 8 pieces hiking, but all those friends and my wonderful boyfriend took amazing care of me. And the hospital was like one of the best experiences I'd ever had in a hospital. So, so the point of this story, because I could go on and on, was that I just let go of all of that fear. 10 years of fear, and just was like, oh no, I am moving forward. And people are like, you're so brave. And I'm like, no, I have this thing in me that says you cannot stop going. You have to go. You must be there. And the call I have not had one day up here that I've gone like, God, I wish I hadn't moved. I'm like, this is where I belong. And so if that isn't a clear indication of God working in somebody's life and getting out of the way, that is just a true testament to that. And so my question to everybody is, just to think to yourself about, we don't have to do call and answer and all of that, call and response, but where is it in your life where you can be guided by joy? Where is your upliftment? Where is your enthusiasm? Or where is that inner resolve that says, this is it, this is the thing I must do? And I like to talk about this concept. Actually, hold on, I have a quote from Ernest. We got to go back to Ernest because he's talking to me right now. Okay. So this is from this thing called Life, not to be confused with this thing called You. It's my personal favorite book. Many people are like, no, this thing called You is better, but no. This is my favorite, so. He says, enjoy, go within yourself to meet this life. Expect it to respond. Relax and trust. Refuse to dwell in the darkness of unbelief. Boldly step through the place of doubt and plant your feet on the solid rock of faith. Boy, he's the man. So I wanted to talk about this concept of the sphere of availability, and we learned about it in a lot of some of my classes leading up to practitioner training. I don't know if any of you have heard of it, but the basic concept is whatever you allow into your life is based upon a set point you have in your subconscious mind. It could even be in your conscious mind, like the thoughts we tell ourselves. And that sphere of availability can be expanded, but it's left unaided, of course, with our conditioning and race consciousness, that's what we get. And there's this another book called Spiritual Economics by Eric Butterworth, who is just such a wonderful book. I've read it many times. And there's a story in there about a young salesman that was put into a territory, and he only made $25,000 after a year's time, and the higher-ups were like, okay, this isn't good. He only made $25,000. We were expecting so much more from this kid. And so after having a discussion, they said, okay, let's move him into the lowest end territory, the most poverty-stricken territory, not expect much from him. And after a year's time, he made $25,000. And they're like, oh my gosh, this guy can really sell. This guy he's really got it going on. So they decided we're gonna move him back up to that high-end territory again. He's so promising, he's got a great personality. And after a year's time, guess how much he made? $25,000. So Eric Butterworth talks about that is his set point. He was gonna make that amount of money no matter where he was. And so it really illustrates the fact that what we take in is what we believe we can have. And both Ernest and Eric Butterworth talk about the different ways to expand that sphere of availability. So of course there's affirmative prayer, there's work with your practitioner, your minister, there is meditation just to be open and allowing. And then one of my personal favorites is using affirmations. Now, not everybody likes them. They can be controversial. I'm a big fan. I mean, I used to be, I'll just share quickly, this is an aside I wasn't planning on, but I used to be addicted to caffeine and soda and coffee. I mean, it took me 10 years to get off of it. And I affirmed because of Louise Hay over and over again, I started saying, water is my favorite beverage. Water is, I said it for weeks. And guess what I drink now? 99.9% of the time, it is water, and I love it. And, you know, sometimes my boyfriend's like, really? But, you know, I do love it. It's great. So throughout the day, when those negative voices come in, I love affirmations, especially if it's one of those days where sometimes they just wake up and they're like, ba, 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 and you pick an affirmation that feels charged in a positive way, that feels like uplifting, and I find it kind of like starts to set the tone, and it even brings you, like it starts to turn the ship around a little bit, and like, oh, the trajectory is changing, we're going in a more positive direction. And did we ever put one on we were gonna do, yes, so if you guys would say with me, this affirmation, we're gonna do it 3 times, so, I am worthy of all the good that is coming to me now. I am worthy of all of the good that is coming to me now. I am worthy of all of the good that is coming to me now. So work on this, bring this in. This is just one of the many tools you can use. And as I said, pick something that feels good to you. Don't just pick something that somebody else is using. Find the one that hits that place in your center, in your heart for you. So of course I have to give you homework. Like that is like the ultimate. So this week I have 3 things for you to do should you accept this challenge. So the first is to work on your faith muscle, to work on that part of you that has been afraid to let go, has been afraid to get out of the way. And something that has worked well for me that was suggested years ago was to make a list of all of the times where you have been taken care of, where God has walked you through and has given you not only amazing miracles, but just gone beyond your wildest dreams, or even the daily, you know, I saw a beautiful bird that I couldn't believe I saw today. I mean, like, make a list. And then when you're not feeling it, when you're not feeling like you can let go, look at that list. And that's always helped me to come back to center of like, okay, God's got my back, always. With every breath, I am taken care of. So work on your faith muscle. The second piece is what we just talked about, and it's not there anymore. Affirmations. And they can become like a walking mantra, moving mantra. I'm doing the dishes. I'm allowing the good that is coming to me now. I am, whatever works for you. Bring those messages into your daily speak, into your talking to yourself. Just let them kind of wash over you. And the third is to let your emotions guide you. And this is not always easy. Okay, people, I'm not saying I walk around all the time being like, woohoo, life is great. You know, I forgot to talk about the fact that, you know, life shows up and we have to work through things. We can't just do a spiritual bypass. We have to walk through and let ourselves process things and do whatever work we need to do. But as Dr. Mark Vieira says, my senior minister in LA, he says, we're gonna all walk through hell at certain points in our life, but it's our choice whether we wanna build a tent there and hang out and, you know, make it our home, or do we wanna move through and move out the other side? So process through what you have to process through, but then come back to that place of what is my joy? Where do I feel guided? What is it for me to do that I'm feeling called to do, that I'm like letting everything else distract me from? What is that for me to do? And so before I end today, I just want to remind you all, and you already know this, I know you know this, but I'm just going to say it anyway, just bear with me, that God is here with you, as you, through you, loves you, wants the best for you. There is no moment in time where that is not the truth. So it's okay to let go. It's okay to get out of God's way. And I say this for you, and I say this for me, so that we can just be on that absolute path and keeping our vision just aligned with truth and with spirit. Thank you. Thank you. So if you will just join me as we get centered, we just get centered in that space of knowing, as I just reminded us of, that we are all one with the Creator, that God is operating through us, in us, as us, at all times, and that we are lovingly provided for and cared for. Each and every one of us here is an expression of the Most High, and that we are absolutely accepting and allowing all of the good that is flowing to us. Not the size of a thimble, not the size of a bucket, but anything bigger than that that feels comfortable. We allow it, and we accept it, and we know it to be so. I know that each one of us are blessed here today. I know that this center is blessed. I know that we are just knowing a connectedness and a oneness that just gets better and better as the days progress. I am so grateful for this time together. I am so grateful for each and every one of you, and for all of the joy and the enthusiasm and the life that is flowing through all of us. What a blessing. And so I release this, knowing it is done into that amazing law of mind that always says yes, that is its only job. And so I just let go and let God, and so it is. Amen.